Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Manifesting Muslimah. I'm your host, Zara Pedersen, and if you have been a loyal listener of this podcast and you have been aware of my upload schedule, you'll notice that instead of this episode coming out yesterday, which was Thursday, it is coming out today on a Friday, which is, not the norm. I upload a new episode every Monday and Thursday. So this might feel a little bit weird or seem a little bit weird, but there's actually a reason for that. And it kind of goes into the subject that I want to speak on today, which is being okay with taking a step back. Now, this is not just something like I didn't design this, by the way, so that I would record this episode, and that's why I didn't upload yesterday. I didn't do that on purpose, but today I felt inspired to sit down and talk about this. And I know for a fact that a lot of you out there, a lot of the people who've done one-on-one coaching with me, and those of you who are in my membership group, struggle with this specific thing in your own time. So I thought it would be very appropriate to talk about it now. So again, we're talking about being okay with taking a step back. So what do I mean with this? Well, we live in a culture and a society where hustle and grind and grit is revered. We're sort of like, the more stuff I can do, the better of a person I am, the more other people are going to respect me, the more work I can get done, the more money I can make, the happier I'll be, the more successful I'll become. We have this mentality societally, at least, where it's respected to be busy, and it's respected to be busy all the time. And if we're not busy and we dare say something like, oh, I'm a little tired today or whatever, it's almost frowned upon. Like, how dare you be tired if you're not as busy as I am, or I'm busier than you, or I've done more than you and I'm not tired, or I'm okay continuing on with my day or doing more and adding more to my to-do list. And so we will frown upon each other for like being tired if we don't deem it to be something that's like, yeah, okay, I'll accept that you're also busy and maybe you should be tired, which is a really strange thing. This is not something that's new necessarily. I feel like it's been probably going on for a few decades now. I wouldn't be able to tell you when it happened, but it certainly has been going on for a few decades now. And especially with this whole idea of everyone can become a millionaire, billionaire, whatever, and this entrepreneurial journeys that a lot of people seem to find themselves on, where you can't just have a hobby anymore. You have to have a side gig through your hobby, like you have to be earning money on it or something to that effect. I see more and more people fall into the trap of trying to be busy, and when being asked, like, oh, how are you? Oh, I'm busy. How often have you said it? How often do you know people to say it? Oh, I'm good, I'm just busy. I'm just busy. Life is busy, 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 busy. And it's become such a buzzword almost. It's like, yeah, if we say we're busy, we're accepted, right? And it's happening more and more now. And I see a lot of us falling into that trap of feeling like we need to be doing more in order for us to be successful, in order for us to feel accomplished in whatever it is that we're doing. But the problem with this is, well, several things. There's not just one problem with it. There's several problems with it. One is that it's not healthy for us. It's just not good for us. We shouldn't be busy all the time. Allah has created us so that we get tired. We need to take breaks. That stress is a real thing. Anxiety, depression, overwhelmed. What's it? There's another word for it, I guess. But like when you're feeling overwhelmed and stuff, these are real things that Allah has designed, because we're not meant to constantly be busy. It's not good for us. It really isn't good for us. It's very unhealthy for us, physically, mentally, spiritually, anything really. So why is it that important? Well, again, it's this image of like, if we are busy, then we appear to be more successful, more important. People need us, so we're really, really busy. And so if I'm a busy person, I might consider myself to be successful because either people need me or my job is important, i.e. therefore I'm important, or whatever it might be. But in reality, it's probably just creating unhealthy mindsets within yourself and beliefs within yourself that you will be struggling with for a very, very long time unless you know how to break up with those. And one of those ideas is that if you are not doing anything, you're being lazy. So if you've got a day off, or you've got a week off, or you have like some downtime, unexpected or expected, that you feel like, oh, I'm being so lazy today, I just want to sit in bed and do nothing. Or I'm being so lazy today, it's my day off, but I need to get up early anyway, instead of just sleeping in and, taking my time, enjoying my morning. If I'm not working on my business, I should be working on my side gig. And if it's not my side gig, then I should be working on cleaning my house. Or if it's not cleaning my house, then I need to catch up with my friends or whatever. Like, there's always something to do. The list is never ending. And this isn't about the list, by the way. This whole thing is not about the list. We don't care what's on the list because the list is irrelevant. This is about your need to feel like you have to constantly be on that list, that you constantly have to check on that list and see what that list is doing, and that those tasks and those things are being ticked off as you go through your days, instead of being able perhaps to say, you know what, not today. Today, I need to take a step back. Today, I need to take care of myself. Today, I just need to sleep. Today, I need to just stare into a wall while I listen to a true crime podcast. Today, I just need to watch Love is Blind and have a takeaway. Like, whatever it might be. Today, I just need to lay in my bath for an hour. If you have a bath, then that's maybe, that's a beautiful luxury if you can do that. I don't have a shower right now. But those little things, like, I just need to do this thing. I just need to go for a walk, not to take phone calls or meetings or to make social media videos or to, I don't know, do that one phone call to your nan that she expects on you on a weekly basis or whatever. Like, that would maybe still be a beautiful thing to do. But the point is just doing these things not because of the outcome, but because of the enjoyment of the actual thing itself and what it'll give you energetically speaking. And also just like in a rest way, that you get to be able to rest, and recover. And so when you're not looking at the world as like, oh, I'm a busy person, I have to do all of these things. The other side of it is I choose to be busy at times, but I can also choose to not be busy. And I can choose to step off of that hamster wheel and take a break. I choose to be okay with taking a step back. I choose to be okay with doing nothing. And I'm not lazy because I choose to do nothing today, or 2 days in a row, or even a week. Maybe you need a month, whatever it might be. If you can, take that kind of time off. So this is a mindset that I know a lot of people struggle with. I've personally struggled with it in the past myself as well, especially as somebody who is self-employed. I don't know if I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm definitely self-employed. This is my own business, and it's not going to run if I don't do the things, because I'm the only one doing the things. So if I'm not sitting down to record a podcast, there will be no podcast episodes coming out. If I don't sit down to record a video, there will be no TikToks or Instagram videos for you to consume. If I don't sit down and write that newsletter, there will be no newsletter coming out. And so, I have definitely found myself in the past really falling under this category of like, I have to be busy all the time, because if my business isn't successful, it's because I'm not doing enough. Basically, like, that was the thinking that I had in my mind at the time. And what I've learned throughout the years, I've been self-employed now for nearly 11 years. I've marked the 10 years already and rounded the 10 years already. So I'm coming up to 11 years of self-employment, right? So I've done it for a long time. And in between, I've done little gigs and jobs and whatever. And so while I do Manifesting Muslimah, I also write my books. I also have got my Quran journal. And I also work at the veterinary clinic here in Sicily part-time. I like to be busy. I like to do a lot of things. Call it ADHD. I like to call it ADHD, but I also like to call it because I just like to have different flavors. Like, I like to try different things out and go do different have different creative outlets. So I always have something that I could be doing. There's always something that I could be doing, but I have made it okay for me to not do anything or everything all the time. I have made it okay for me to take a step back and just rest and just do nothing. I think specifically, like, in the past, I never understood this. I get it now, though, because through social media, specifically TikTok, I've come to recognize that I quite likely have ADHD, because I recognize a lot of the patterns within myself. And one of the big ones that was a real aha moment for me was burnout. And not burnout like in, I've been going for 6 months straight and now, of course, I'm going to burn out at some point. I'm talking, I've done something for one day and then I'm burned out. I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous. And I almost feel like I should feel ashamed for even just saying that, because I know some of you are going to like, frown at me and be like, one day, Zara, you're being dramatic or you're exaggerating. Maybe some of you who have ADHD out there can recognize and nod recognizingly to what I'm saying, especially if it's like a social event. Social events wear me out. I can sleep for 2 days straight after a social event because I'm that spent. I do not have any energy left. And I used to be so ashamed of this, and I used to not understand it. I didn't understand, is something wrong with me? Am I being lazy? Why does my body and my mind feel so exhausted after doing what other people do on a regular basis? And I have obviously in time come to learn that maybe there's something underlying, in my mentally, that's sort of kind of blocking or working against, at the very least, what other people deem to be normal behavior. And that was such a huge eye-opener for me. So I've, for a long, long time, for many, many years, dealt with burnout. And it's not until sort of like the last, I want to say, 1 to 2 years, I've really realized, oh, that could be the ADHD kind of peeking its quirky little head and saying, hi, I'm still here. And at first, before I understood ADHD and that I might have it, I used to hate this about myself. I used to really be ashamed of it. I used to really fight it and resist it. And it would just lead to massive depression and anxiety for me because I wasn't respecting that my body needed to take a step back. And so I would pretend that I had all the energy and I would, just do what I needed to do and just kind of push through. And then I, at the same time, was wondering why I was so severely depressed and had panic attacks on a daily basis, sometimes several times a day. And it was because my whole body was so fatigued and it couldn't keep up. It was in fight or flight all the time. And versus now, where I'm sort of understanding my body more and I'm showing myself a little bit more grace and forgiveness, I'm able to say, oh, you feel tired today. Maybe today we take it easy. Maybe today, even though you've got tons of things to do, you just don't do all of it. Do what you can, if any of it, and then just rest. And for those of you who follow me on several platforms, not that you really watch me that closely, I doubt that. Oops, sorry. I doubt that very much at the very least. I just said sorry to the chair. I just said sorry to the chair. I knocked the chair and I said sorry to the chair. What is wrong with me? Well, anyway, at least energetically I said sorry to the chair and it knows and it'll forgive me. Okay, so what was I saying? Yeah, so anyway, so for the last sort of like week and a half, a lot of changes have been happening to me or in my life. I mean, I always say that, it's nothing new at this point. But because I am this kind of person that loves changes, as I said earlier already in this episode, I love changes. I love to do different things. I love different flavors in my day, not food-wise. I'm very ADHD, sort of like super focused on one food for like 6 months straight, and then I get tired of it, and then I hyper focus on a different food for like 6 months or a year, and that's how I eat. And it's not healthy. I get it. You're talking to a previous personal trainer, nutritionist. I know that, but that's just the way it is. Anyway, I digress. The point is that there's always change and there's always something happening. And recently, a big change happened because I'm semi-used to now all the changes. But a big change happened in that I moved into what is, my permanent home here in Sicily. I have an address now in Sicily, which is a huge step. So not necessarily in the physical realm, which of course has been taxing physically to move when you're alone with 2 dogs. And on top of that, moving into what is essentially still a building site because the place is not done yet. Nobody's lived in this. It's kind of like a grotto home. It's super cute. It looks like a little cave or a grotto. And it's the way they used to build homes here in Sicily, like, homes here in Sicily, like 120, 130 years ago. They stopped doing it now. So there are a few of those buildings where it literally just looks like a cave or a grotto. But this specific one, nobody's actually ever lived in. So we had to put in a new toilet, build up a wall, put in a toilet, a kitchen. We've had to make it livable, essentially. So I kind of moved into a half-finished project. It's still, as I'm sitting here now recording, it's still not finished. I'm still sitting in what is essentially a building site. But, there's a functioning bathroom at the very least, and the kitchen is coming along, right? And the rest is, just decorating and making it my own, making it a home rather than just a place where I drop my things off. And so the physical aspect in and of itself, of course, can be taxing and has been, of course, also. But another thing is the mental aspect, because it's the moment when the realization hits, like, oh, wow, I'm actually living in Sicily now. I have an address in Sicily. And, this is what I've been working towards in the last few months and whatever. And that mentally and energetically, and being able to also just rest in being like, oh, I'm home now. This is home. And all of those realizations, they weigh heavy on me. I don't know if I don't think I am a specifically a sensitive person, but I do believe I am more in touch with those things than many people are. But I notice these things, and I notice that it weighs on me because I need time to process, and I need time to just kind of oh, okay, that just happened. And it's not something that I've always done. It is something that I've learned to do because it's important for me to take my time with these things, especially emotionally speaking. So this move was so taxing on me that I find myself being exhausted. And this week specifically, oh my goodness, I've been struggling, energetically speaking, not in that, oh, I need to go to sleep and I want to sleep, but in that I creatively don't feel creative. And for anybody out there who's also a creative minded person, well, you'll know what I say. It feels zapped. It feels like the brain doesn't have an original thought. It's just, it just feels like, oh, I should make a video, but I don't know what to make a video about. Oh, I should write a newsletter. I don't know what to write a newsletter about. I don't have anything to say. I'm empty. That is the literal feeling on the inside. It feels like I'm empty. I don't have anything to say or contribute with, which is rich coming from me. I mean, you can hear me. I'm speaking, 1,000 words a minute, right? If that'll do it. So clearly, I have a lot of things to say, but when I'm zapped, when I'm drained, I have nothing. I'm an empty vessel. And that is because I need to re-energize. I need to rest. I need to allow for those creative juices to come back, because I'm spent. I'm done. And that's what's happened for me in the last week. And that's why yesterday, even though I had time to sit down and record an episode, I also had time on Wednesday. I also had time on Tuesday, and I had time on Monday after I recorded Monday's episode. And in none of those times when I sat there and I was like, oh, I should record an episode now, the creativity wasn't there. There was no ideas. There was no originality in my mind. It was just like, no. And I kept postponing. And in the past, I would have given myself such a hard time about it. And I know a lot of you also do this, and we'll get to that, okay? So in the past, I would have given myself a hard time about it. I would have called myself lazy. I would have thought something was wrong with me, that I'm just not built for success. I might even, and I can't believe what I'm saying, I might even have thrown in the towel. I'd be like, oh, might as well give up now. Might as well give up now. It's not working, clearly, so I might as well just give up now. At the first sign of a little obstacle. Do you know what I mean? And I know a lot of you guys do the same thing. You get one of these moments, you might not call it burnout, but a little hiccup on your road where you need to take a step back, or you just don't get everything done that you feel like you needed to do. And instead of showing yourself grace, instead of accepting that, hey, today's just not the day. Today's is not the day. I'm not there in my cycle. I'm not there mentally. I'm not there spiritually. I'm not there physically, whatever it might be. And so I'm just going to take a step back and recoup and recover. A lot of you do the same thing where you are giving, you're giving yourself a hard time. You are being really mean and evil to yourself. And I'm not saying that because I'm calling you out, because as I said, I've done this myself a ton of times before. And I could have done it also to myself yesterday. And a part of me wanted to, but I've worked on this for time now. So it's easier for me to sort of be like, we're not going down that road, because I'm going to show myself this grace. I'm going to accept and forgive myself for the parts of me that are maybe not working ideally, or that where other people might judge me for it or whatever. And I'm going to be like, but that is their issue. This is my body. This is my life. This is, my days and how I choose to run them. And for that reason, I will accept it and, deal with it as gracefully as I can. But some of us, I mean some of you, but also me, well, all of us, haven't learnt how to do that. We haven't learnt that it is okay, because again, we might be surrounded by people who make us feel lazy, who make us feel like being at rest is a bad thing, especially if they deem there to be a lot of other things that you should or could be doing, right? I see this as well a lot with mums. Whether you're a new mum or you've been a mum for time, the moment you have some time off, you're like, oh, I should do the laundry, I should do the dishes. And I get it. There's always something to do, especially if you've got children in the house as well. But there's also something about you're also allowed just to make yourself a cup of tea and sit down and watch something crappy on television. And that's okay too. The dishes can wait. The laundry can wait. And I know sometimes it's like, oh no, but nobody has anything clean to wear. We'll live. We'll all find a way around it. And, if push comes to shove, we'll hand wash a pair of knickers and we'll move on with it. Do you get what I'm saying? We will find ways. The world will continue to move. Nobody's going to die from it. We'll be good. But it can be so hard to mentally readjust and give into that allowance and that grace to take that step back. And I'm really hoping that by my sharing how, again, for those of you who've been here for a while, that I'm trying really hard to do the Monday and Thursday episode on the weekly basis. But there have been times where it's as of very recent, well, other than, today or yesterday, when my mum and dad were here, I allowed myself to take that step back because I wanted to enjoy my mum and dad being here and not work while they were here. And at first, it was really hard for me. But again, this is something that I've been working on for some time now. So it was easier for me to also be like, no, but that's fine. And there will be times like that. And it's okay. It's okay. I'm hoping that by sharing that, even, somebody like myself who might outwardly give an appearance of, oh no, Zara's got it together. She's got a book, she's got a thing, she's got a podcast, she's got a this, that, and the other, and she's active and whatever. I'm going to take my time off for myself as well. And some people are going to notice it and some people are not, I don't think that any of you are sitting there literally on Thursdays or Mondays waiting for my podcast episode to drop. I'm not that big-headed. Honestly, I'm not. I gotta be I think I know the publishing dates or weekly post dates for one podcast that I listen to, and the other ones I'm just like, oh wow, today's a new podcast episode day, and I didn't know that they were dropping. So I don't think that you're sitting there religiously looking at your Apple or Spotify checking when a new episode has dropped of mine. But it's more for my own routines and getting into a habit of things that I have, the Monday, Thursday and stuff like that. And I'm sure that some of you might sometimes think oh, Zara hasn't posted in a while, or last time she posted was last week or whatever, and those things happen. But I want you to understand that even for somebody, and I'm no one, I really am no one. And there are many, many, many people who do much more than I do, and I'm far more successful at what they do, and people who do much less than I do and are far more successful than I do, than I am. That it's okay. Even those of us who are trying very publicly to, show a side of hey, this is good, and live your life, and, do the things that you enjoy, but also show up and take the action and, all of these things. We will also have days where we are going to take a step back and be like, oh, I need a break. I need to take a step back. And sometimes it's planned, but oftentimes it's not. And if it is planned, you're not going to notice it because there will still be podcast episodes or content coming out, because then you'll have the time to actually create those things, which is why, from my side, at the very least, you're going to notice when something's going on because there will be no replacement, right? Yeah, so anyway, the whole point of this, again, is just to say that there has to be an allowance of being okay with not doing everything, or just being okay with taking that step back and allowing yourself just to rest. And I know it can be so difficult because, especially for those of you who might be who might have read my book, who might be going through the 7-step process of how to use the law of attraction from an Islamic perspective, you might be like, but I have to take action. I have to take action. And how can I, in one hand, take a step back and also take action? And sometimes it's an energetic thing. It's not necessarily always that physical thing of, showing up in the 3D and putting one foot in front of the other. Sometimes it is energetically saying, I'm taking action, but part of the action is to give myself rest, because I am not a machine. I am not operating on batteries. I am a human living creature, and I need to sleep. I need to rest. I need to zone out. And when we have a goal, something that we really, really want, dangled in front of us, and we're like, but if I take all of these actions, it's going to happen. And if I take a step back, maybe I'm delaying it. No, you're actually not. There's no delaying in that. But if you're respecting your body's true wishes of wanting to take a break or taking a step back. In fact, you could be enhancing it by saying, I respect that it'll come in the right time, in Allah's perfect timing, because your actions are not going to dictate when it comes. It's basically just to show Allah, I'm ready and willing to strive for the things that you're willing to bless me with. So basically, I'm willing to work for it if you're willing to give it to me. So work for it to get it and work to maintain it, right? But your actions are not dictating that it's going to come. So being able to take a step back and still trust and have faith that Allah is still going to introduce the thing, that is still a big part of law of attraction from an Islamic perspective. And I want you to understand that. So energetically, even taking a step back can energetically put you in favor, because you have to display more of that tawakkul, because you have to find ease in rest. You have to find ease and flow in not doing anything as well. And this is not to say don't do anything at all ever. But honestly, if you need a break, take the break. Take that step back. Find ways to give yourself that, or maybe on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, whatever you can afford and however it kind of comes easiest to you. But I promise you, the world will go on. The goal will still be there when you're ready. I still feel a little bit drained today, but at the very least today, I feel more ready to talk, as you've probably noticed. I don't know how long this episode is already, but clearly sometimes what we need is to take that step back in order to refine that creativity, that energy, so that we can come back and create something with value that has the energetic meaning and the delivery that we want it to have, rather than something that feels forced and pushed out because we feel we have to do it, right? It's the whole thing of like Salah. Let's just take that as an example. You're praying because you genuinely want to connect with Allah and you want to serve Allah, versus praying because you feel like you have to. And those of you, well, I'm sure you've all experienced both of those things, and maybe a different type of salah as well, where you're trying to impress others, or you're doing it because somebody's saying to you you should, or whatever. But there's a massive difference in the energy and the emotions that you're bringing to the carpet when you are coming to prayer, when you're feeling forced or sluggish or tired or whatever, and you don't really want to, versus when you are bouncing towards that prayer rug and you're like, yes, I can't wait to sit down and have this moment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, it's not just about the thing you do, it's also the energy you're bringing with it. And sometimes taking that step back might be what you need in order for you to get the right energy to the thing that you're hoping to do ultimately. Yes. Okay. So that, I feel like, did I get everything out that I needed to say? I think, was there something else? Is there something else? Yeah, no, I think the only thing actually is just, give yourself time also to learn yourself, to learn who you are, to learn your body, to learn your mental capacity, your energy, because we're all so uniquely and beautifully designed and different that while some people can do 3 outings in a row, some people might be like, I just need one. I can do a half, and that's okay. But take the time to learn yourself and understand how you operate best, because you will find that there will be people in your life who can do more and who can do less in different ways, and so getting to know yourself in that way is so valuable, so valuable. Even if you have a mental disorder, if you're struggling with something, as I said, I highly suspect that what I deal with is ADHD, and learning more about ADHD has allowed me to give myself so much more grace when I fall into these little pots of, or the parts of ADHD that are not as fun and social media worthy. The parts that are not necessarily the ones that we want to share because it's fun or quirky, but more like, oh, this is kind of a sucky thing to deal with on a daily basis or on a monthly basis or whatever it might be, and but learning about it means that you can yourself better, and it'll be easier for you to deal with it. It'll be easier for you to know how to handle it. So take the time also to really get to know yourself, get to know your mentality, get to know your spiritual, emotional well-being, get to know what brings you energy, what zaps your energy. Excuse me. I think I burped a little bit when I said zaps. That was so weird. But it wasn't like a burp, it was just like an air bubble. I don't know. It was so weird. But get to know what zaps your energy. Get to know what, brings you peace and what brings you stress. Get to know these things, because this way it's easier for you to design an everyday life and a routine around you that brings you joy, energy, and comfort rather than stress and anxiety and discomfort. Do the things that, so design your life around the things that make you feel like a well-functioning person ultimately, right? And don't look at what you should be doing or what other people are doing and how you admire them, and do what you're designed to do. That is essentially what it is. But be okay with taking that step back. There's nothing wrong with taking that step back. It's perfectly safe for you to take that step back. It's perfectly safe for you to prioritize your well-being, even if it means doing absolutely nothing for a day or two or a week or a month. It's perfectly fine. And in case you're like, oh, but it's like, I've already done it for a month and I still feel tired and whatever, or I still feel like I'm not done yet and whatever. Remember, I took a year after my divorce, and I lived up in the mountains in complete solitude. I needed that year. Alhamdulillah, that Allah gave me the ability to be able to do that for myself, because I also understand that was a huge blessing, of course. But I took a year and I did nothing for a year. I'd go out in the garden, I'd water my flowers, I'd trim the rose bushes, I'd pet my turkey and my chickens. I'd go for a walk. I would sit in this rocking, hanging chair situation. I'd go for a dip in the pool. I would genuinely do very little. And the way that my body came to life afterwards, subhanAllah. If you think taking a month or two is too long, it never is, my darling. It is worth it, because that comeback will be so great, and the comeback will be worth it. Okay, my darling, I am going to love you and leave you here. Please don't forget to rate and review this podcast wherever you're listening in from. If you've got suggestions or feedback or anything like that, you can reach me over on Instagram at Manifesting Muslimah. Inshallah, I will get out of this little rut soon and get back to my original Monday and Thursday uploads. But I still hope that you enjoyed this episode and there was something beneficial in here for you. I will see you in the next episode, inshallah. But until then, please don't forget to live in love.